So you're always ready for a different scenario. I think it's a little bit like being an actor. You know, you just got to be able to understand enough about many styles to be able to fake your way into a situation, which is what I've been doing. I don't really play country. I'm not a specialist. I'm not a specialist heavy metal. I'm not a specialist rock or blues or classical. But I understand a little bit about a lot, enough for people to notice that I can be put in a scenario, a musical scenario, and probably make it work.
Yes, can you tell me something about your musical education? I mean, how did you learn all those styles?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is self-taught, but I've had a few different teachers. I went to Brazil to work with a guy called Sebastião Tapajós. I'm fascinated with acoustic guitar and Brazilian music and Latin American music. I love classical guitar. Bach, John Sebastian Bach has always been a strong influence, still is. That style of composition and that style of structure. You know, the blues, and I don't know, I mean, I'm always learning, you know. I'm still trying to figure it out.
And what about formal education? Do you think it's useful? For example, I read you studied Berkeley or...
I went to Berkeley College of Music for a while, and I went to Guildhall College of Music to learn classical guitar and composition, and I've had a few private teachers, formal teachers. I think it's important, yeah, but I think the best thing to do is to be one-to-one with someone. To be in a group is difficult because then it's like yoga. One-to-one is probably better than in a group. I think musical education has moved a long way since I was there. And it's really, the problem with classical music education is that they focus much more on articulation of sound as opposed to origin of music. So when you're learning Bach or Chopin, they're just showing you the notes and how to get a good sound, but they're not talking or having a discussion about the origin of those notes. What were the influences? What is this chord? If you ask a classical musician who's very good, what is this chord that you're playing? Okay, I don't know. Well, you should know. I think it's important, and that's what musical education is for me, is comprehension as to what you're doing as much as how you're playing it. And really, there's a lot to be learned from that. I think classical musicians can learn from the discipline of jazz, and jazz musicians and rock musicians can learn from the discipline of articulation of sound, the way classical musicians do it, which is amazing. We want that. I want that. So it's a great double thing.
On your records, you try to combine this approach to classical music.
Yeah, I try my best, but because I love the sound of a good classical guitar and, you know, sound production. But also I think it's important to be heavy and to be strong to my roots. I love heavy metal. I can't help it, you know. So like I said, I'm not a specialist in any style, but I'm much happier this way. Because you can go down one road of speciality and go very, very far, but maybe one day you'll wake up and decide, I want to try something else. And you've left all that time, you've wasted all that time not doing it. So really, I'm like spinning plates. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
spinning plates, juggling, and trying to keep a lot of fires burning, but not one big one. You know, it's quite difficult. It's a difficult act, and I'm very tired, but I'm having a good time. You know.
I read you organize some workshops.
Yeah.
Would you try to tell all those guitarists, or what's your approach?
Well, just like what I'm telling you. It's no different. I mean, it changes every day. I think I have thoughts about practice. I've got thoughts about listening to music. I've got thoughts about playing ensemble, what it means to play in a band, and what's important. Like, for instance, if I'm in a band with you, my job is to make you sound good. And if you sound good, guess what happens? I sound good. You know? Things like that are important. It's like, you know, and there's a lot of similarities with, you know, like good sports, you know, like watching Barcelona play football. They play as a team, and that's how a band should be. You're just passing the ball and complementing each other. And it's playing ensemble is a lot about that. And to look at a good string quartet, you can really see there's no way you could be a good string quartet without really listening and complementing. So these things are important to me, and I talk about a lot of stuff, about practicing slowly and deep into how to practice, and not my method isn't the right method, but it's the method that works for me, so that's my experience.
And what do you personally practice when you have time, if you practice?
I usually only practice Bach because I hate scales. I can't stand playing scales, but Bach is scales, but it's scales with a bit of emotion, with a lot of emotion. And that's all I do, and I practice, very slowly, and it's kind of like yoga or Tai Chi or something. It's just to get a good sound. I think number one important thing as an instrumentalist is sound. Because there's usually guitarists, all they want to do is play something. But I say to them, okay, play it slowly. And they have trouble playing it slowly. And then I say to them, well, the reason why you can't play it slowly is because what you're doing is a reflex. It's not, you're just doing a reflex, like walking. It's, you've got to analyze every part of that movement. And so you've got to learn how to play slowly, because then you're going to play better. And to get a good sound and make every note important, make every note your whole life experience. That's very deep, and people will go, I don't want to do it like that. Well, then I say, you don't have to do it like that. That's just the way I do it.
When talking about practicing, do you prefer practicing with metronome or?
No, but I think it's important sometimes to try practicing with a metronome if you have problems with time. I don't have a big problem with time. I'm obsessed with good time. You ask my percussionist here, Ronnie Creature, one of the best percussionists in the world, and I've worked with Vinnie Colaiuta and worked with some pretty serious time dudes, and I think it's really important to keep good time, but not to always play in time. It's not about that. A good example is, say, Manu Katché, the drummer. He's a guy who, he probably wouldn't like me saying this, but I don't think he ever plays in time. But the time is there. It's like a steel, it's there. He's just dancing around it. But you can feel it, because he's so great. With Vinnie Colaiuta, he's just playing in time, and he's taking risks. And a great, like Jeff Beck, is someone who's very, very aware of where the time is, but he doesn't play right on it.
Of course.
And so that's why he's a genius player. With sound as well. He's obsessed with it. And I hate him. I love him, of course, but he's the maestro, the living maestro of sound, production, and style and class on a guitar.
Talking about Jeff Beck.
Do you agree?
Máš rád Jeffa Becka?
Jo, jasně. Yes.
He will be coming to Prague in summer.
Okay, well, I'm glad that I'm not coming after him.
Okay, talking about Jeff Beck, what are your other influences? Or?
Other influences, Jimi Hendrix, of course, and classical music, great pianists, Glenn Gould, but also, art and literature and food. Those are my influences. And good sports.
And what sport do you
like to watch
watching?
Football. Of course, it's a big influence on me as a musician. Really. I'm serious, because it's like all about contrast, color contrast. I like good literature, which is how to work with ideas.
What do you read?
I read everything. I like a lot of different authors, and I like biography, I like history, I like reading Martin Amis, I like... But I don't read all the time. I like playing chess. I love chess, and I think that there's a lot in common with chess and music and creativity and destruction and construction and being aggressive, being passive, being passive-aggressive, all these things. It all influences the way I play music. I don't listen to music for music inspiration. That's my job, to be a musician. I think it's wrong to use music to influence music. I don't agree with that. I think it's good to analyze it and to study it and to go, oh, that's interesting, that chord, but not to draw inspiration from that. No. I draw inspiration from feelings and other stuff.
And what about composing? Do you compose with guitar or?
No, I compose usually in the car with nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and then I see if it makes sense on the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Silence is the best instrument for composition, I think. And ideas that come that are open, free, open the windows to creativity. But yeah, of course, guitar is an instrument, and it's not real composition if you just compose for that instrument. That's not composition. That's like writing a study, say, for an instrument, which is what Villa-Lobos did, a lot of writing studies for guitar. So it's those aren't his best compositions, but they're very good studies for guitar. That's why they're called etudes, I think. Yeah, preludes and stuff like that.
By the way, it's very hard to find the silence today.
Yeah, I mean, silence is very important stuff. I mean, it's scary. It's a lot of people are afraid to use it. You know, there's nothing wrong with being silent. You know, it's hard as well to use it effectively. But I've got great musicians who understand that, what it is, space.
By the way, your last record is called November.
Yeah.
Is it? It's very hard rocking and some kind of fusion record. It's just very different from your other records.
I was just trying to change my sound. You know, I was getting too comfortable with the nylon string guitar. And I think it's important to, I'm not trying to be successful with my records, I'm just trying to do the best I can. I've got a good job, you know, playing with Sting, and I travel a lot and work a lot with them. So when I do my thing, I don't want to compete with anyone, so I just do what I want to do, you know, nothing more and nothing less. And that record was me experimenting or discovering my, being an instrumental musician on an electric guitar, which is quite difficult. It's difficult to do because there's so many people who are so far ahead of me, like John McLaughlin and you know Jeff Beck, and Pat Metheny, and people like they're so far ahead of me. But I don't mind. I want to get on that train. I'm right at the back, but I'm catching up.
And how did you record this record? I mean, was it musicians recording separately?
No. We recorded it in a room live.
Great.
With mistakes. Yeah. Oh, really?
Well, I haven't heard any.
No, I mean, sure. If you listen, really listen, there are. I was in a room and recorded it with Hugh Padgham, who's my favourite producer, engineer. We set up in a room, press record and play. And a few little overdubs. Over to second guitar, I would record maybe a melody, or sometimes record the melody and then the chords, which is an interesting way of doing instrumental guitar music. And yeah, a little bit of production, but really the core of it was recorded live.
Yes, great. And what do you think about today's possibilities of recording separately every instrument in other continent and other musicians send it to?
If it sounds good, that's great, but really, I mean, the best way to record music is to play live together, I think. That's the best way. I mean, yeah, sure, the modern technology is amazing. What you can do anything now, but I think that with music technology has enabled musicians to take a giant leap backwards for music, not forwards. It's just gone so far backwards that we need to examine our thinking again, and you know, listen to the Rolling Stones and listening to Neil Young and Miles Davis. You know, these are really good records. You know. They wouldn't, I don't think they would sound good if they were manipulated.
Yes. Okay, so one last thing, can you show me your gear?
My gear?
Yes.
Well, it's on stage now.
Yes, but we can walk.
There might be people in the audience.
Are they? Oh, okay, so...
You can go and look at it.
Yeah.
But it's not all my gear. I'm renting an amp and...
Okay, so you can tell me what are you using?
I'm using a few different tools. I have a really nice classical guitar made by Yairi, which is a Torres model, black electroacoustic nylon. I have a custom Les Paul, and that's it, and an amp.
Yes, but
which
you have a
rented.
great sound, so do you have any...
Yeah, well, I mean, I try to work hard to get a good sound, you know, but it's not really, the instrument helps. If it's a good instrument, I can get a good sound. A few pedals. But really, the instrument is there to help. You know, sometimes people say to me at the end of a concert, "Wow, that's a great sound. What kind of guitar is it?" And I go, "Well, it doesn't make any sound. Look." And I put it on the floor. Can you hear it? No, I can't. No, it doesn't make any sound.
Okay.
You know?
You're absolutely right. But our readers are somehow interested in what kind of...
Yeah, I know it's interesting. It's very interesting, but you know, like, I'm interested in how Roger Federer plays tennis, you know, but I'm not going to ask him what kind of racket he uses. I'd rather know what is he thinking when he's playing those shots. I'm not interested in his racket. Yeah, but my guitar is a Yairi electroacoustic nylon guitar made of maple with, I don't know, a pickup, a Fishman pickup. And I have a Les Paul which is that big, and it's white, and it's got 3 pickups? No, yeah, I don't know, up, down, you know, volume, tone, and 6 strings. I can't help you any more than that, you know. Yeah, these are my tools. I need to clean them, they're a bit dirty. You need to clean your tools and make sure your tools are working. Sharpen them.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
I don't think gear is important. It's a big mistake to think that if your favourite guitarist is Mark Knopfler, and you ask Mark Knopfler, what do you use, and you reproduce his gear exactly, I really don't think you're going to sound like Mark Knopfler. It's not going to happen. I guarantee you that. The reason why Mark Knopfler sounds like Mark Knopfler is because that's the sound he wants to get. And he could sound like that on a piece of shit guitar, trust me. And Jeff Beck could sound good on a tennis racket. You know?
Great. Okay.
Okay, cool. You cool? Bye. All right.